Ever look up at the night sky and think, man, I'd love to go there, but mostly because my Wi-Fi is down and I'm out of snacks? Well, you're not alone. For thousands of years, humans have been staring at the stars, probably wondering if there's a better celestial food court out there. This is the story of how we went from just looking up to actually going up. The epic, slightly clumsy, and often hilarious history of space exploration. Our story begins way back when. Ancient civilizations were the original space nerds. The Babylonians were meticulously tracking planets, basically creating the first cosmic spreadsheets. The Greeks gave us names for constellations, which is why we have a giant scorpion and a set of twins floating up there instead of, say, a celestial toaster. And they did all this with just their naked eyes, which is impressive. I can barely find my keys with the lights on. They laid the groundwork, figuring out that the universe wasn't just a big, sparkly dome painted on the ceiling. Fast forward a bit, through a lot of arguing about whether the Earth was the center of the universe. Spoiler alert, it wasn't. Then came the telescope in the 17th century. Suddenly, Galileo Galilei could see Jupiter's moons, the craters on our moon, and Saturn's rings. It was like upgrading from standard definition to 4K. The universe got a whole lot bigger and weirder, and humanity's collective mind was blown. But looking is one thing, going is another. For that, we needed rockets. The idea isn't new. The Chinese were using rocket-propelled arrows centuries ago, mostly for parties and scaring their enemies. But for space travel, we needed something with a bit more oomph. Enter the pioneers of the early 20th century, like Robert Goddard in the US and Konstantin Tsiolkovsky in Russia. These guys were dreaming of multi-stage rockets and liquid fuel while everyone else was still. Figuring out the Model T Ford, Goddard launched the first liquid-fueled rocket in 1926. It flew for about 2.5 seconds and went about as high as a 2-story building. Not exactly a trip to Mars, but you have to start somewhere, right? It was the hello world of spaceflight. Then, things got competitive. The Cold War kicked off, and suddenly, space wasn't just a place of wonder. It was the ultimate high ground. The Soviet Union and the United States started what we now call the space race. It was less of a friendly marathon and more of a frantic, high-stakes sprint where the finish line was the moon and the prize was bragging rights for all eternity. On October 4th, 1957, the Soviets scored the first big point. They launched Sputnik 1, a shiny metal sphere about the size of a beach ball. It didn't do much. It just went beep, beep, beep. But those beeps were heard around the world. It was a cosmic wake-up call, especially for the Americans, who promptly had a national freakout. The space race was officially on. Soviets kept racking up firsts. They sent the first animal into orbit, a dog named Laika, a brave pioneer, though her one-way trip is a bit of a downer. Then, on April 12, 1961, they did the unthinkable. Cosmonaut Yuri Gagarin became the first human in space, orbiting the Earth once, and proving that a person could survive up there without immediately turning into a popsicle. When he landed, he was an international hero. The Americans were still trying to get their rockets to not explode on the launch pad, but the US wasn't down for the count. President John F. Kennedy went on TV and basically called his shot like a cosmic Babe Ruth. He declared that America would land a man on the moon and return him safely to Earth before the end of the decade. This was an insanely bold promise. At the time, the US had a grand total of about 15 minutes of human spaceflight experience. It was like a toddler announcing they were going to win the Olympics, but they buckled down. NASA was formed, and the Mercury, Gemini, and Apollo programs were born. They sent Alan Shepard up for a quick suborbital hop, becoming America's first man in space. Then John Glenn became the first American to orbit the Earth. The Gemini program was like spaceflight training camp. They practiced spacewalks, which were surprisingly difficult. The first American spacewalker, Ed White, loved it so much he had to be ordered back into the capsule. Basically had to be told, "Ed, the space party is over. Get back inside." They also perfected docking to vehicles in orbit, which is like parallel parking at 17,000 miles per hour. Finally, it was time for the main event, the Apollo program. It had a tragic start with the Apollo 1 fire, a devastating reminder of how dangerous this all was. But they persevered. They sent Apollo 8 to orbit the moon on Christmas Eve 1968, giving humanity that iconic Earthrise photo. For the first time, we saw our own planet as a fragile blue marble hanging in the blackness. And then, on July 20th, 1969, it happened. Apollo 11's lunar module, the Eagle, touched down on the moon. Neil Armstrong descended the ladder and delivered one of the most famous lines in history. That is one small step for a man, one giant leap for mankind. He and Buzz Aldrin spent a couple of hours hopping around in low gravity, planting a flag and collecting rocks. It was the ultimate "we were here" message. The world watched, mesmerized. For a brief moment, everyone on Earth was united, looking up at that little dot in the sky where two of our own were walking. After the moon landing, the space race kind of cooled down. It's like after the Super Bowl, nobody's that interested in the preseason games. But space exploration didn't stop. The Soviets launched the first space station, Salyut. The US launched Skylab, which was basically America's first orbital bachelor pad. An early mission to Skylab had a bit of a mishap where the solar panels didn't deploy correctly, turning the inside into an oven. The astronauts had to perform a daring spacewalk with a giant parasol to fix it. It was the most high-tech DIY project ever. Then came the age of reusability with the space shuttle. This magnificent machine could launch like a rocket, act as an orbiting laboratory, and land like a plane. It was awesome, but also incredibly complex and, as we tragically learned with the Challenger and Columbia disasters, unforgiving. The shuttle built the Hubble Space Telescope, our eye in the sky that has given us breathtaking images of distant galaxies and nebulae. It also helped build the largest structure ever put in space, the International Space Station, or ISS. The ISS is probably the greatest example of post-Cold War cooperation. Astronauts and cosmonauts from the US, Russia, Europe, Japan, and Canada all live and work together in this orbiting laboratory. They're doing science, studying how long-duration spaceflight affects the human body, and probably arguing about whose turn it is to take out the cosmic trash. It's been continuously occupied since the year 2000, which means there are humans who have never known a time when there were people living in space. So where are we now? We've entered a new era of space exploration, one driven not just by national agencies, but by private companies. Companies like SpaceX, Blue Origin, and Virgin Galactic are making space more accessible. SpaceX's reusable rockets have been a game changer, drastically lowering the cost of getting to orbit. Seeing their Falcon 9 boosters land themselves upright is still one of the coolest things you can watch. Looks like science fiction, but it's real. We're seeing space tourism become a thing for the super rich, which is thing. And we're looking outward again. NASA's Artemis program aims to return humans to the moon, this time to stay. The goal is to build a sustainable lunar base, a stepping stone for the next great leap, Mars. Rovers like Curiosity and Perseverance are crawling all over the red planet, searching for signs of past life and testing technology for future human missions. Perseverance even has a little helicopter sidekick named Ingenuity, the first powered flight on another world. The journey to Mars will be long, dangerous, and incredibly difficult. It'll make the Apollo program look like a weekend camping trip. But humans are explorers. It's in our DNA. We've gone from staring at flickering lights in the sky to walking on another world and sending robots to a fourth. We've stumbled, we've failed, and we've achieved the impossible. The story of space exploration is our story, a story of curiosity, courage, and a persistent refusal to accept that the sky is the limit. The universe is a big place, and we've only just begun to explore it. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this cosmic journey, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more adventures through science and history. Let us know in the comments what you think the next great leap for mankind should be. See you next time.